The end, a deconstruction of myth and elements. After his death, the high roads leading up to his mind were salted, so his admirers and the bereaved might reach him to pay homage. Days after the ascent, ideas were still coming out of the untended cage of his cranium and wandering down the mountain like cattle. One night, a group of tourists navigating his brow with snow tires saw something in the lane ahead. "Look," one said quietly, and stopped the car. "There's an image crossing the road. Don't startle it." The thing stared at them for a moment, idly munching its abundance, then weaved off into the summer grasses. When, a moment later, the camera panned out to the surrounding countryside, they saw the memories of thousands of deceased and still living senile, swarming over hill and dale like sheep. They had pushed it, stretching out the past, as a good mama stretches out leftovers, salt pork and turkey stock, to last and compensate for a week's worth of rations that weren't there because there was no war on. It was survival of the fittest in a world that wandered around dazed in its childhood and adolescence, knocking on doors and scavenging candy. Rival gangs developed, the children they had been versus the adults they were now, both constantly fighting for the dominion of memory, whose republic had fallen to anarchy while under the regime of adaptability. Now there were no separate chambers for myth, no reason for climates to stay in their place. The skies over Europe and Asia, blown clear out of their continents, took turns as wet nurses, watering North American soil with their rains. The Gobi Desert sky squatted over Scotland like a trollop, ruining its watery ecosystem, until some industrious tongue undid the drought. Mother Earth forced into flagrante delicto to save herself. The imminent dead alternated from the heartrending to the whimsical. One tried to buy a cemetery plot for all his lives, to lay himself as a girl who died of cholera, next to himself as an old miser who died after carving a cradle for his next birth and leaving a lofty inheritance to himself. One unknowingly delivered the reincarnation of her son on a routine day in the maternity ward, washed her hands of blood and afterbirth, and went home. One ended as a dog, busily digging his old human bones up out of the earth and gnawing on them. Others could only gaze up at their own transmigrations, as children gazing at Santa fleeing on his sleigh, and watch the best years of their lives, the bronze baby shoes and family heirlooms, plundered by the Union. He and his muse pushed off into a section of the sticks where no guards were stationed to confiscate energy and distribute it to the Socialist Republic of Oneness, that seamless merging into all light, that without the canny foresight of some of the dying who swallowed their memories as heroin smugglers and shit them out into their next lives, might well have rendered the sum of everything useless. They took no oars, being absolutely silent. Up long straits they flowed, occasionally legends passed. One time, just at dusk, the Lady of Shalott in a flight of river flowers. Another time, Jenny Greenteeth, silent as a shark. One time, Ophelia, naked as her metaphor. The sirens had stolen her clothing. Then down the throat of Gulliver to drop into a petri dish with Jonah. Two drifters off to see the world. Presently, sounds began to ooze from them, a condensation of bells scraped off the skin in a Roman bath, and their minds became incontinent, love blossoming around them, like warm urine in a bed one settles into before they realize what it is, their genitals moistening, like helpless patients that need to be turned, an embarrassing greenery on its back, flailing like a tortoise. And all was new again. A love too young to know itself had crept into its own glands and deposited, as into Christmas stockings, little gifts it would find years later and excitedly call sexuality. The buds of childhood pried open in old age, readying to come out like bright green shoots, in a season of senility, nostalgia, reincarnation. On the final day, the memories of all humankind set in the wood, bleating as heavy downpours buoy frogs and 1,000 crickets chirping into the summer dark. On the last day, the Lord held the world by its corner. Before he let it flutter away like a handkerchief, an old man happened to look up and see her blossoming through the church windows, the Blessed Virgin, Our Lady of Fatima. In her lap, the Christ child opened Bluebeard's storybook, and on the other side of that chamber was nothing but a door that opened onto a flat field. All scent, all desire, tumbled out and somersaulted into the high air.